Hello and welcome. This is episode 4 of the Brotherhood Coalition Podcast. I'm your host for today, Marco Theodore. It is episode 4, and we will be tackling personal finance and relationship. We are accompanied by our co-hosts Chuks and Travis.
Yo, you said it so like cool, man. I like it. Like
Thank
you
you,
said
thank
it
you.
so
I had to put the radio voice on.
I know. Yeah, so this is Chuks Watching here, one of the co-organizers for the Brotherhood. Like I said, Travis, like Marco said, it's our 4th episode. We'll throw it over to Travis real quick to introduce himself.
Yeah, I don't like introducing myself,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's true. That's true.
right,
That's
but
true. That's true.
you
That's
You
know,
true.
know, that's how you know it's Travis.
yeah, y'all can get a head nod,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
yeah,
All right, man. Go ahead,
but
Marco.
thank you.
Well, to start off this episode number 4, we were really going to focus on personal finance, and it's in particular in relationships. Um, Now, I actually have a question for you both. Now, do you think, culturally speaking, because this is the Black Man Coalition, you
Yes,
already know we
sir.
go down culture,
Hmm.
do you believe that there are financial roles in a relationship?
Travis, you can hit it first, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do believe that there's roles, and gender does play a part into it. For instance, my dad was a single income earner, from I was born to I was about 10 or 12 years old, right? Because my mom went to university during those times, and she wasn't really working. So my dad took on the traditional gender role as a man, and he did a great job. And then when my mom started making income after graduating, um, she became a breadwinner like him,
Mhm.
right? And you know, my but my mom never made my dad. I could tell that my dad was always in the lead, no matter whether the dynamics never changed whether my dad made extremely more money or if they were on par, as far as the income goes. My the way my dad um, was the head of the household never changed. Also, my dad would also help around the house more and do
Mhm.
more things as the situation changed. So it wasn't, my dad is the breadwinner because he's a man. It wasn't that static. It was, he did the best he could,
Mhm, mhm.
and tried to let my mom, you know, have her dreams and her goals. So I see it as a fluid thing. Me personally, I want to be a provider.
Mhm.
Um, I want to provide, and I want to make my partner's life as easy as possible, right? So there is a place for gender roles and stuff like that, but it's all it's more individualized um, due to circumstance.
Yeah.
But I'll let you add to that.
Yeah, not much to say to that, quite frankly. I think it is important, obviously, being able to be financially stable um, is important when you're coming into a relationship. But I don't think it's a necessary. It's not necessary because in relationships, I feel like you're coming as you are, and the other person's coming as you are. And then when you're coming together, you're there to then help each other grow in your different roles, right? I may have challenges, financial challenges, emotional challenges coming
Mhm,
into the relationship, and so does my partner. And it's for us coming together to be able to help each other grow and help each other and cover those barriers and cover those challenges and find solutions to those issues, right? So I think that's when it's the coming together piece, which I think is important. But finances, I think it is a hot topic. I know that's
mhm.
a topic that you know probably the number one topic when you're talking about marriages or relationships. What are you bringing in terms of your finances, where you are in your position, what's your employment status? Like those are questions you can probably even get in the club. Like, like what kind of dollar bills you coming with? You know what I mean? How can you provide for me? Like, you know what I mean? Like those are questions that I received in social settings when I was single, right? Like, can
Wow.
you be a provider? You know what I mean? So, like, and then that, like I said, this is all our perspective. It's not saying anything about who, whatever the case may be. It's just my perspective, But I do see finances to be an important thing when you're coming in, but I don't think it's really, really imperative because, like I said, when you're coming together, you grow together. That could provide you opportunities to increase your financial wealth, provide you opportunities, helping your CV, getting you contacts in other areas. Your woman can do that. Vis-a-vis the same thing for the male, right? Like the male can help out the female and get them whatever situation, help them in their financial situation as well. So I think it's twofolds, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
Now, that's very, very interesting, and I like the points that you've put in. The one question I have, like, if we really draw the scope a little bit back, because we're really talking about the dynamics of relationship,
Mm.
and we can see a change, right, from traditional relationships to now that it's more modern. Because in the traditional time, the single family income was possible.
Mm.
And now in the modern period,
Yep.
it's two income households that we're seeing.
Yep.
When you're doing your tax return, it's asked for household income.
Mm.
So it really plays a huge part because now that life requires a little bit more from both roles. Um, do we still associate certain expenses to certain things? Like you say, you get the mortgage, she gets the property tax,
Mm.
she pays the insurance, you pay all of the groceries, you also pay all the. How do you guys like structure it in your relationship if you're okay with like opening up?
Well,
Go
oh,
ahead. Go ahead, Travis. Go ahead, man.
yeah. I think it's there's two aspects to it. So you have, I think the biggest issue is when you're first meeting the person and getting to know the person. Um, I've experienced women who they actually are sizing me up right away. They may have chosen me because of certain um, material things that I have,
Mm-hmm.
because it projects wealth
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and projects certain
Are you
things that
hinting at your car?
so but some women will ask about, do you own property?
Yeah, yeah,
Or they
that's
may
true.
look at your place of residence, right?
Yeah.
Some women are looking for a man who lives by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Some women just don't want you living with mama,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's levels to it, but I think the biggest thing that maybe I find that women have missed when from my experience is that more important than my income right now is my mentality
Mm-hmm.
as a provider, and my consistency as a provider and things of that nature. I think that is more important, as far as a woman's security. Um,
So you're talking about like your character. It's not always about
exactly.
what dollars you have in the bank. It's the character that you're bringing.
It's the,
And
it's
I
the
don't think
character.
I think there's a lot of, and like not to cut you off, but I think that there is. I think women do that. You know what I mean? I think they do that naturally. I know, and then just speaking in my own experience, my own partner, she didn't look at the money that I had in the bank because, quite frankly, when I met her, I didn't have much, right? But she looked at me as in terms of who I am and what I can bring to the table in terms of the personality traits, right? The ability to trust me, the ability that I can always speak the truth, the ability that I can support her not just financially but emotionally, right? I think those are key qualities that women do want, and not just specifically with black men, but just men in general, right? These are qualities
Yeah.
that we need to be able to bring to the table when we're finding a partner.
Yeah.
But I do think that finances, because we're on that topic, is important, and I do
Hmm.
think that women do tend to, like, it is also an important factor when kind of choosing a mate. So, but like there could be, we can go into so many details in terms of why that's the case, and maybe that could be another episode we can talk about. Maybe get a woman's perspective on that piece. So, but I do like what you're saying, Travis, and like I said, I didn't want to cut you off. I want you to keep going, but I think that's also important to bring to the table. You know what I mean?
Well,
I
and
have an important, I'm not really important. I have something that's very interesting because
Mm-hmm.
I see this thing that said that you are the person that you would feel safe with growing up. So if we put a little financial twist into it, growing up, did you ever feel worried about money and what money could do in a relationship? And has that kind of helped understand your relationship with money now, and as well as how you build relationship with other people when it comes to money? That's a little twist. Let me hear what
no,
y'all.
It's a good question.
that's a good answer.
Question.
Yeah, no, that's I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm thinking about the answer. That's a good question. Um, I haven't done, and I should, but I haven't really looked at my childhood and seen if there was any issues or trauma that deals with money and security. I don't think I have.
Because
For me personally,
often
I don't.
people's spending habits will lean towards what their parents' habits were or
Mm,
what they lacked
yeah.
growing up. So,
You know what? I think for me, I rebelled because my parents are very prudent, very careful with their money. Looking back, only now looking back do I see what they did to accumulate wealth.
Mm,
I didn't really understand it fully,
mm-hmm.
or
mhm.
so I actually, so my parents have uh like opposite money habits than me. So I'm still learning. So but what Chuks was saying, something about finances being really important,
Mm,
and especially now with inflation going up, and things of that nature. I've also realized that, speaking to other people, especially now with inflation going up, is that they people are actually um have to be financially resilient, or else they'll be on the streets.
mm-hmm.
I've never been in that situation, right? Because I have a lot of family.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that is that I think that has affected me more than anything, because I've seen people who had to be financially resilient for a long period of time, and they take money very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And with me, um, I grew up not having, my family grew up not having money. So, and I think that this is, and I'm going to be full disclosure, like this is an open space, being transparent. I think I've internalized money differently because of that, and I've used it as a form of kind of like I need it to validate my existence. You know what I mean? Like because I never had it, I never had it for a huge point of a huge portion of my life. Now it's
Mhm.
like I need it or I'm nothing kind of thing. You know what I mean? Um, and I've learned, like through conversations with my wife over time, I'm starting to just like to break that part about me, like just break that out of me, because I think that's not healthy. Even for my mental health, that's not healthy, right? Recognizing that money, like you put too much onus on the power of money, and then it kind of takes away from who you are as an individual, because all you see is like, if I don't have money, if I'm not making money, if I'm not in a position where I'm a huge stature, then I'm nothing, right? You have that perception, which can impact your mental health as you move forward, or it can impact your relationships as you move forward too as well, whether it be with your girlfriends, your family, your friends, because you feel that you're not enough, right? Because you're not making as much as people around you. But that was my experience, because of the fact I didn't have money growing up. My mother struggled, when she was, one parent household, three jobs. Like it was money was a huge portion of my life. And not having it was a huge portion of my life. So now that I'm in a position where I can attain it, I want to make sure I have it. But I think it's unhealthy. You know what I mean? And so in relationships, when I was single, when those conversations would come up, like, you know, what do you have in the bag? You know, I'm like, yo, I got bag, you know, but I didn't, I didn't, you know what I mean? So it's like, I always had to overcompensate because I felt that that's who I was. Like I needed to have money to be validated, you know, and I think it's really unhealthy, you know. But I think, you know, in terms of, you know, when you does like maybe a question for you guys, you know, like in like I know you guys are single, whatever the case may be. You've been single. I haven't been single for a while. So, did you ever feel some kind of insecurity when you didn't have money to approach a female that may look a certain way, be act a certain way, but you know you don't have, she may think that
No.
you're out of your league, or like, did you ever have that feeling before? Like approach? No, never,
Approach a girl? No.
never, eh? Even though you
Nope.
didn't like, let's say you were at the time like, because I used to live at home. You know, like it was hard. You know, like if you guys were living at home back in the day when you guys were living at home, like was it difficult for you guys to approach girls, knowing you didn't have like a
Well,
lot of bag in the bank
yeah,
account?
Nope.
you know, for me, it does affect, you know, my dating.
Hmm.
Um, so now there's particular girls that I can see, even if I have money, there's particular girls that I may look at and say um, they are giving me vibes that I wouldn't have a good time with them.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's due to the fact that they feel entitled to certain things, right? And I think the entitlement kills the joy of giving. Because I love, you know, my parents will tell you that I'm a giver to to the worst extent, right? So, you know, I love giving and stuff like that. And to me, it's not, you know, Chuks, you know, you're asking if my my lack of funds
Hmm.
would stop me,
Yeah.
and it technically wouldn't stop me because, you know, if I have $10 to give and I give um and I give it with love, it should be appreciated, you
Hmm.
know. And when I do have like $100 to give, I'll give it, and I'll give
Hmm.
that with love too, you
Hmm.
know. And I think, and the woman I want to be with, would understand that and stuff.
Hmm.
So you're right. The
Mhm.
other women, I may not approach,
Yeah.
but I could be a billionaire, and I would not approach that type of girl because the entitlement just
But
throws
how
me
would
off.
you know? How would you know that that girl is just non-approachable because she just would smell money, like whether you have money or not? Like
Yeah.
how would you know?
Sometimes it's hard to tell, you know, but some women are very you know, some women will say, you know, I have a standard, and you know, if I can't be flown
Yes.
out, or if you can't go on vacation with me and pay
Mm.
for everything, you know, they'll have certain things, and if you can't do it, then they're not with it. So but that's, you know, that's certain girls. And but that but yeah, it doesn't stop it wouldn't stop me from the right person.
Mm.
So but full disclosure, I'm actually not dating right now
Oh.
because um I just wanted to
Singles,
focus.
these single ladies, come on.
Yeah, yeah, sorry,
Yo, get
single
on the
ladies.
comments. Get on the comments.
Un unless unless you wanna, well, you know, because the biggest thing is, if you know, if I wanna build, um I don't want to be distracted too much with a girl I'm trying to get to know, or I'm trying
Mm.
to court. You know, it's hard to court and build,
Yeah.
and I had to realize that the hard way.
Mm.
But so now I'm just, you know, I'm just building, and maybe in the summer when it gets real hot, yeah,
Get hot, huh?
when it gets hot in here,
Yo, Marco, did you wanted to say something on that too? I don't know if I think you wanted to say something on that.
I think for me, like, I don't think, I mean, as a man, confidence is very important. And I don't think any lack of anything should diminish your confidence when it comes to acquiring something.
Hmm.
You should you should like lean towards more of the feeling of excitement of acquiring that thing than this disappointment of not having what you would think you would need to
Hmm.
acquire, because that's just complicating yourself, you know?
Hmm.
So I don't think money has ever stopped me from wanting to get things. But then again, like starting when I was really active in the dating scene, it's now I'm off limits. When active in the dating scene, I also was in a great financial situation,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
where so be it. You need this,
Hmm.
let's do it. You want to do that, let's do it. That's okay with me. But now, as I'm building an empire and I'm learning that the money that I want to put where I want my money to go is on where I can invest it.
Hmm.
So if we're going out, I want to hear about your more than just your day and how you feel. I want to
Hmm.
hear about your aspirations, how you want to grow, the things that you want to leave behind, you know?
Hmm.
So that's what matters to me in the dating scene. So now that I'm off limit, like the questions that I have, the questions and the foundations of financial standards that we have, still a little bit loose
Hmm.
because we're pretty new, but there's still the important part.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah, and
important part is the goals that we're setting for at least individually. I have goal for my financial needs, and
yep.
she has goals, and we know that they're similar values, so we'll work towards that.
And I think you mentioned something in terms of like the communication, because you've communicated your financial aspirations, your barriers, your challenges, whatever the case may be. And sometimes there's a lack of that in new relationships, old relationships, mature relationships. You're hiding money. You're not, money is not
Oh yeah,
being
I've seen
totally
that.
transparent. Like there needs to be a level of transparency when you're talking about money, particularly in relationships. I think because, like I said, it's one of the, if not most important topics when you are, in relationships. So, like for us, like what do you think, like in a general role, like your viewpoints or your general perspectives on our roles as black men, or just men in general, when we're talking about finances in relationships? Like what's your view on that? Like what role should we assume? Like do you think it's right for us to just always have to pay, you know what I mean? Or do you think it's good that it can be a split? Do you think that we should be paying for the bigger things, whereas the woman's paying for the little stuff? Like, do you think that we should always be 100% taking on that financial role, or do you think that there should be a balance between the two, like woman and man, in relationships when you're when you're
Um,
when you're creating that?
from my own perspective, I would say that's a little bit of both. On the ego and pride side, as a man, you obviously want to be able to take care of the girl, take care of everything that's going on. But let's be realistic. Again, we're in a society where things is not cheap, and
Mm,
no matter how much you have, there's instances where you might not have.
mm,
You
mm,
especially like there's people with hundreds of thousands, but they can't access it, or they got to roll it over in another investment, or they're doing. So it's like um, the biggest aspect for me is like when I look at the relationship and money, I look in the aspect of how are we creating wealth. I'm
mm,
not looking at gender roles in terms of who's paying the car note and who's paying that. You know, I think we have our own financial response. I think as a man, we should have our own financial responsibilities and what we think is important. But we should set those standards with our partners as to what fits for both of us.
mm, mm,
Because one thing I've noticed is that men will go broke for their wives,
mm,
and especially black men.
mm,
And it's because one, they're afraid to tell they don't have the
mm,
money. First, they want to look like the provider, so no matter what it takes, they'll do. And they also end up unhappy,
mm,
working extra shifts, unhappy, and some of them end up being divorced. You know, so
mm,
what is it? 51% of marriages end up in divorce. On top of that, the number one reason is money.
mm.
Not even cheating, not
Yeah.
even death.
Yeah.
Not even, yeah, it's money.
Mm-hmm.
So money plays such a huge part in relationship. So those standards that we set for ourselves should be respected. There should be boundaries. Just as we set boundaries in everything else in relationships, we should set boundaries in our financial aspect. Y'all should have different bank accounts. That's just okay. That's your own spending money.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have a joint account to pay the bills, that's even better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, just put the money in there, and if the bills go, the bills go. Whatever you can, whoever can.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot, Marco. What you said, Travis. Did
Yeah,
you
no,
want to go?
just to add, Marco,
Yeah.
that was a great point.
Yeah.
You know, when you talked about men creating boundaries, that's something that I always try to tell my women friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I would be happy with my wife and kids, like anywhere. We could be in the bushes, we can be in a hut. If I decide that this is the lifestyle, if my reasoning says, you know what, this is the lifestyle we should lead, you know, I'd like for my wife and my kids and everybody to be on board, to trust me, um, you know, and it would solve a lot of financial anxiety and issues. You know, for instance, you know, it's expensive living in cities in Canada, in the major cities in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if I decide that, you know, let's live kind of in the outskirts, or you know, let's live in one of my vacation homes in the Caribbean for half the year. Let's do something non-traditional to save money and to gain wealth. Maybe have a, you know, a business that's international. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you know, I'd like to think that I'm comfortable with setting a lifestyle that fits the financial system and the capitalistic system that we're in now. That fits the unstable. You know, they just said the U.S. dollar might collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Now it probably won't collapse,
No, we'll never.
but my whole point is, when I say, you know what, let's do this instead of the traditional. She may have big house in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
Orleans, you know, to the traditional thing, and I might say, you know what, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I may choose a girl that believes in me, and that wants to do that. So, you know, finances doesn't have to be, oh, my girl wants X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna have to go and do X, Y, and Z, and now you're unhappy because you're doing something, you're not really being true to yourself, or whatever the case may be. So, um, you know, I think it's
I have a
very
question.
important that, you know, that men do that.
Do you think that you will take the leadership when it comes to the financial responsibility and selections and whatnot?
I'd like to. I'd like to. So I'd like to suggest a few things. Like, you know, I find that women nowadays, you know, I date
So
predominantly. I
okay,
date
so
only
now
black women. Well,
to add into it, I don't want to. I don't. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but the reason why I wanted to add to it, right? Now, so but what if you see a woman that's in a better financial position than you and that has that ability?
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Okay,
of the women I date have corporate jobs, making great money, and you know, I find that they're not happy. Actually, they should be happy. They're financially in the best place they've ever been,
hmm,
and they're unhappy. And I see that as a man. I see that they have habits of going shopping, X, Y, and Z, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I know I can make you happier. You may think you're taking two steps back, but I think I can make you happier if you could just stop
Seeing past my. Yeah.
indulging in the materialism,
Mm.
and indulging in the, oh, let's take a trip, girls trip, and this and that, and you come back unhappy, and whatever the case may be. I think I can give you some substance. I think we can go slower,
Mm.
uh, save even more money, and have more fun. You know, so that's just how I think.
And do you think that's just because of the girls that you're approaching? Maybe like it's just because like
No, I
no.
don't get a lot. It's not that I get pushback. It's not even that I've. There's been times where I haven't spoke my mind about this specifically.
Mm.
Um, but it's just in saying that women may have a certain idea of how the future will go,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like as a man, it's up to you to set the pace
Mm-hmm.
because because you may know you have um, the long term aspect of the relationship in mind
Mm-hmm.
as you're making these decisions. You're not just making the decisions based off short term,
Yeah,
um, just
I
to
I got you.
post something on Instagram or something.
I got you, and I want to flip the script a little bit and throw this at you. I know you guys don't have kids, but let's say you throw kids in the mix now, right? And now you're not married, you have a kid, you have a baby mama, and you need to provide. Um, so it's like it's the financial piece, right? That's now become even heightened. So how do you guys like? What's your perspective on that? Like when you bring kids into the mix, right? When you have a child or whatever,
Is the kid yours?
now it's like, yo.
Is the kid yours? That's question number one.
Well, you have to
Oh,
go to paternity court and find out.
well, yeah, you can easily find
I'm
that out.
not trying to start any
No, no,
beef.
no, no, no. But it's a hot topic. It's a hot
Is it a
topic.
shorty that you met, you already had a kid, and now you're joining the relationship and building something, or is it
Sure,
something that
Sure,
no,
why not?
sprouted your
Why not?
seed? You sprouted that you expanded your family line.
Well, either or, right? Because I think if
It depends.
if you get involved with a woman that has a child, and you're capable of being able to provide for her and her child, why not? The man is
I
not in the
understand,
picture.
but
You know what I mean?
that's the thing. This is where it matters
Yeah,
between the relationship.
yeah.
A lot of women, it's like, and I don't want to speak on women. I'm not a woman, so I don't want to speak on but let's say she doesn't.
We need to get a woman on this episode. We need to get a woman.
Hypothetically,
We
from what I
gotta get
speak,
it.
women like to keep their family business to themselves.
Okay.
So obviously, in the start of the relationship, she's not gonna ask you for anything for that kid.
Well, if it's a child, I wouldn't assume that she's going to introduce you to her child. She just met you, right? Like
So
it needs to
now,
take time, right?
even if you're into the relationship, is the father present?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Is he
another one.
active in the life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you don't want to overstep your boundaries
Right,
as well.
right, 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 right.
But you also want to make sure that if you want to extend the family, if you want to extend or make the family strong, or even have more children, it's like you also have to balance out the love that is between all children. So
hmm
how do you explain that now?
Well, it needs to be equal, right? It needs to be equal. You need to treat your step whatever by quote unquote step daughter or son the same way you would treat your biological son or daughter in that relationship because you don't want to cause any rift, right? You need to stabilize that relationship. But I'm saying in terms of the financial piece, right? Um, and that's one topic I think we can touch on. But like, say you bring a kid into the mix, like, what is our financial responsibility as black men in general, when we're talking about children in that relationship? I wanted to kind of pick your brain and
yeah,
see what you guys thought about that.
yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is, men should be trying to get 50% custody. And once you get 50% custody, there shouldn't be any money exchanged.
Hmm.
So that's the first thing there. If you're separated from the baby mother.
Hmm.
Get a
Now, as far as finances goes, when I was a stepfather for a few, and I mean for a few for a few months or a
okay, not
year,
a few
Hmm.
children.
not for a few
for
children,
a few, for a few, for a few
yeah, for a few. No,
relationships.
no. But
I'm like, yo, what kind of life you lead?
um, and you know what? I
I was
found
a
the most.
stepfather for a little
I
while.
know.
I found
Happy to the
the
children.
biggest
Yeah.
the biggest the biggest thing the biggest thing is nothing really changes. You're still in control. Like you still want to lead as a man. Now, different men lead in different ways, and not all men want to lead, right? But I'm talking for myself.
Facts.
You lead. Um, you know, off topic, but I found that like you know, I stepped in as the father, even if she had her father
Yeah.
that had visitation rights.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like if you're head of the household, then you need to not be scared to kind of step in there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've earned your stepdaughter or your stepson's trust,
Mm-hmm.
to be kind of not to kind of pussyfoot uh, in, but kind of be very let them know that
They'll be okay, you know.
that
Yeah,
you're
that you're
there,
there. That you're there. Yeah.
not as a boyfriend, but
Yeah.
as the man of the house.
Yeah. Exactly.
I found that was important. But as far as finances goes, you may have to forego some of these selfish things that I do all the time. Because I'm single with no kids, I get to take chances and punt the football when it comes to certain things. But when kids are involved, you have to be less selfish and do something that you may not want to do to make money to support the
Support.
family.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to kind of get, because it's true when the kids are in the mix, it's a heightened sense of urgency in terms of being able to support. Um,
Yep.
but I also think that um, there needs to be a level of, like I said, I've talked about this before, a communication, healthy dialogue between the two, um, recognizing your situation, recognizing the woman's situation, recognizing what the child needs, and just making sure the child has what they need emotionally, financially, whatever the case may be. That is the primary focus. It's no longer what's going on between you, like you guys as in a relationship. It all has to be about the upbringing of this child, right? So, like, I don't want to talk about, what guys are not doing, the whole perspective of like deadbeat dads, because there's a lot of great guys out there trying to take care of their children, particularly black men. We know that. There's really, like, even my whole friend circle, like, we're all fathers, we're all taking care of our kids, right? Like, it's not what is portrayed on media or movies or whatever the case may be, that we all have, 15 children, Nick Cannon. Like, it's
Hmm.
not that. So, but we do need to make sure when we're talking about bringing kids into the mix, like I was saying, we have to be there. We have to be present. And that also, there's a financial cost to that, right? Like, that is the decision you and your partner made. You have to live by that. And so I think it's important that when you're talking about finances, we need to be able to, like you said, Travis, give up our selfish acts, give up our selfish needs and wants, maybe, selling our car if that's the case, then, but it's all because our primary
Well, that's a
focus
good
is,
one. We should talk about what men like me should be doing preemptively
hmm,
before we get into a relationship. Now, Chuks, you did say our friend group. Our friend group, um, you know, they weren't millionaires when they met their wives.
hmm,
They met their wives. They came together
hmm.
and they built.
Yeah, they built, exactly, exactly.
Right. So you know, it seems like if women find the right guy who has the right mindset, doesn't matter if he's currently
Yep,
unemployed or in between jobs or
yep,
whatever the case may be, you find the right guy with the right mindset who's
yep.
ready, who's there, then you I think a woman and a man could work together and do anything they want
Yes,
to do.
absolutely, absolutely.
From what I've seen in my friend group, I've seen it time and
Mm,
time it, it- you know,
mm,
it just takes time, takes a bit of effort, but a two-income household that's working together
mm,
can do anything.
mm, mm, mm. No, and it doesn't
Absolutely.
matter which one is making the amount, like, more than the other. I
No,
I
no.
don't think that matters.
Last thing I'll say
Yeah,
is black women in my life have picked me up, and sometimes they've helped me get a job.
yeah.
They've helped me get a job that led me to the field I'm in now, which
Mm,
is IT.
mm,
That started with a black woman saying, "Oh, I have a friend who has a position here, and I can get you there, and
mm,
let me help you with your resume and stuff like that." right? So imagine, one of my girlfriends doing that for me, but now I have a wife.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I can do, I'm doing what I can do by myself, but you know what I mean? So, that's all I wanted to say when it comes to two people coming together.
Yeah, and there's nothing more to say about that, my friend.
Not more to say.
Go
That
ahead.
concludes our episode of today. That was episode 4, where we really tackled personal finance in relationship, and it really became an interesting conversation. So appreciate everybody for listening. Please subscribe, like, and follow us for more. Our next episode might knock the socks out your feet.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's coming at you.
Hint,
Thanks,
hint.
everyone. Yeah. See you guys.